This episode of Unbinding the Binary was recorded on 11/20/21, Transgender Day of Remembrance.
Hi everyone, we're on the set this evening of Unbinding the Binary, and in observance of Transgender Day of Remembrance, we would like to take just a moment of silence for our fallen sisters. And so it is. Hi, I'm Sage.
And I'm Deshawn, and welcome to another episode of
Unbinding the Binary, a visual podcast where we get transparent about life, art, love, gender, and so much more.
So much more. On today's episode, if you notice, we're sitting at the table. We have a different setup because we have a very special guest in the building. Yay! For our very first Dating Diaries series. First Encounters is the topic for today, and we have the wonderful Mel coming to join us and have a great conversation about all of that. So it's going to be really cool. I'm very excited.
Sipping this tea, honey.
Oh, and Mel is Sage's friend, so thank you.
Yes, my good friend Mel.
Yes. So I hope you're ready because this is going to be a good one.
Hello world, this is Freddie Atlas, and my new single, Skies of New York, is now out on all platforms.
And we are back. And I just wanted to introduce our very special guest, Mel.
Hello. Hi, guys. How are you doing?
One of my very good friends. Thank you so much for being here, Mel.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm truly honored. Thank you. Thank you both.
Yeah, no, thank you. Honestly, it's such a pleasure to have people on that we get to vibe with, and so thank you so much for being so gracious.
For being our second guest.
Yes, thank you. Yes.
I'm so honored and excited. Thank you so much.
Well, before we get started, we just like to ask all of our guests, what are your pronouns?
Thank you so much for asking me. My pronouns are they, them. And just to keep the spirit of asking going, I would love to know what your pronouns are.
Oh.
She, her.
They, them.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and thank you for asking.
Yeah.
That's important to ask. We're all learning how to do that on a consistent basis. So
yes, important to open the conversation up and yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're here for.
Right.
Literally.
So, all right. So we're kicking off the first of many of our dating series called the Dating Diaries, if you will. We were talking back and forth about how to navigate conversations, and when it comes to love and stuff like that, we want to get real about it and be honest and transparent. And so the concept of the Dating Diaries is just an ongoing thing. And then our first topic for that is First Encounters. So what is it like to date what is it like to date in the age of 2020 and wait, this is 2021, child, not
21st century.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Thank you.
If you were going to say 2022, we're just about there.
We are just about there, right? I was about to say 2020, but I mean in the age of the 20s, if you will, for us in our 30s,
right?
And what it's just dating is trans and non-binary people, or queer people in general, not even just everybody's experiencing that way. So yeah, just kind of wanted to kick that off, and thank you again for being our guest. So, yeah.
Wow, I'm so excited. And I think that this is going to be such a fun conversation to have, especially as millennials.
Right.
We've seen society and community moved from a very interpersonal age, you know, where everything was done with your own two hands and in person.
Mm-hmm.
And then we watched the age of technology graciously evolve right in front of us. So we're very much like the bridge of reconciliation between the two, like, generations,
Mm-hmm.
like the one before us and the one after us,
Mm-hmm.
which are both like the opposite ends of two extremes.
Yeah.
So yeah, dating has definitely evolved.
Big time.
Big time.
Yeah, super big time. I mean, like, just sorry, but when you said that, you made me think about being on like AOL chat and like dating back then.
Can we talk about
Flipping
what our
open my
AOL
sidekick.
AIM names were? I want to know. Y'all gonna dish?
Ooh.
What were the AIM names that you were using?
Solo Star 14.
Ooh.
Yes, come on, Solo Star. Mine was Hershey's Kiss, but it was Hershey with an I, Kiss with a Y. I was determined. I'm not gonna even lie. Like, low key, I was telling people I was gonna be a stripper, and I was gonna be my stripper name. That's not become my profession, but if it does.
It's okay to dream.
Oh, okay.
Listen.
It's very okay.
Hey, we support sex workers on their side.
Yes.
So sex work
Absolutely.
is real work, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, my AIM name was Dirty Human Talk. And I don't know what, as a 14-year-old, possessed me to use that, because I was definitely having PG-13 conversations.
Say it again. Dirty Human Talk?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Some repressed.
You were very clear about where you were headed. Like,
yeah,
oh
my
my
fingers
goodness.
were ahead of my mind at that time.
Oh gosh, remember chat rooms?
Oh.
Wow. Yeah. Was that, I might have been doing some things in there I wasn't supposed to.
She was probably doing some things and saying some things and talking to some people.
Right.
She probably shouldn't have been talking to
Right.
either.
Some older people.
That part.
That was a big thing at that time, and I feel like they did their best to kind of, snatch it up quickly and set,
Yeah.
certain...
I used to code switch so bad for the chats, because I would go on and you got to put on the masculine voice. So you trying to I'm like taking deep breaths trying to record a message like, hey, what's up, yo? This is Deshaun. Just hit me up and say what's up. Yeah, it's good. Like doing all this
broody Deshaun.
really trying, and then get on the phone with somebody and be like, hey, what's up? Like, what the hell is this?
Do you remember the walkie-talkies, the Motorola's, and people were like talking on walkie-talkie channels, but that was only for like a little bit.
I feel like that lasted like maybe a summer, a year or so.
Maybe like a year or so. Yeah, the next
church. Yeah.
And
Yeah,
people
the
would
church.
talk. Oh my gosh, I'm
Yeah.
having flashbacks.
Yeah.
I can't believe that mobile devices really had us out in our neighborhoods using glamorized walkie-talkies. Like, I was really hitting up, like, my little side piece on that thing. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
The slide.
yeah,
Right.
I
The
was.
slide,
Right.
as we would say back then.
Yeah.
It's interesting too, because like with technology and like apps and everything, like I remember when like dating on an app first started, and just it's kind of like this like transition from, like you said, like AOL chat to like the chat rooms, and then the chirps, and like how we just had evolved, and now we got these like menus of people that you could just choose from like at any given time.
That's such a good way to describe it.
That is a really
menu.
good way.
It
Menu
is.
of people, and you're
It
just
is. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's
What was
crazy.
the first official website you can remember where like there was a mutual, I don't know, unspoken understanding that people come here to find someone,
The first website?
Yeah.
For me, it was Black Gay Chat. That was-
BGC, right?
Yeah,
I was
BGC.
thinking about that.
Yeah, I remember BGC like hardcore. I remember BGC like.
It might have been that for me too, or it also may have been like, I don't know, in New York is really popular locals. Could have been Locals or Mi Gente's, or one of those.
Oh, you mean like a physical place or a website?
Oh, we're talking about a website, right? We're talking about a website, yeah.
I don't remember. Mi Gente's was an actual spot.
But then they had like the spot. Like,
did they have a website?
There was a chat that was called like.
I missed that era. I think for me the first like website I was using to like, flirt and stuff like that was probably OkCupid.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even think about yeah, you're right. I forgot about OkCupid. OkCupid was around for a minute.
But in the beginning, I don't know if OkCupid was like super
It
queer.
wasn't. It wasn't at all. It was super. It was in the beginning stages. So like, really, there was barely any people on there. Like, it wasn't. But that was one of the first ones I went into, like, intentionally knowing that I wanted to find, something of a romantic prospect. So yeah, that, and then I think like MySpace wasn't intended for that, but.
So, what was your journey like moving into like dating for you, like with the apps? Not the apps, the websites and stuff like that. Like, how did you like navigate that?
I think I let curiosity be the compass for that one. I didn't really know what I was doing, to be honest, and there was still a lot of things about myself I hadn't even come to terms with. So, yeah, I was definitely navigating those spaces as like a cis person, what I imagine a cis person probably how they would navigate. Like, I was just talking to men at the time and just kind of like, it was completely superficial for me. So I was just like reaching out to people who I thought were maybe cute, and then like people were reaching out to me, and if the conversation went somewhere exciting, then like, it was pursued, and if not, like, there were options. So yeah, I don't know if disposability is the word, but it was definitely playing some type of role on these online dating sites.
Right?
So yeah.
Right? That's what we all. It translates to the apps too. Like, the role is still played. Like, I can tell you how many times I would intentionally take certain kind of pictures and vibes to create a certain persona for apps, until I got to a place where I realized what I was doing, and I was like, wait, stop, no, like, this is not working.
This is not
like,
working.
Yeah,
this is actually not bringing me what I want.
No, not at all. In fact, it's getting me more rejected. You know what I mean? Because like, that's just not who I am. So once I cut all that out, like, stuff changed. But yeah, like.
Yeah, I think you make such a valid point too, because when the internet was like first being explored and such, like, the idea that you could literally be anybody you wanted to be online was such a huge part of the appeal. So like on chats, like, I was telling lies. I was lying. I'm 25, but I'm 14. Like, I was lying about everything. Right. So I think, that was like definitely one of the biggest like appeals of the internet, and then also we had like the whole catfish age.
That's what I was gonna say. That whole concept is what birthed the term of catfishing. I guess at the time it was new for us. We were just like, people are just telling little white lies, or like, maybe they're like, not sharing a picture of themselves, and thus came catfishing.
Okay.
Have you guys ever been catfished? Like, legit catfish?
No.
I have been catfished before, and I have catfished before.
Wow, wait, you can't just drop that and then not say nothing. Like,
I'm waiting for someone else to confirm that they haven't.
Right, true. If you want to, I'm sorry, I apologize.
No, I'm down. We're here for the stories. We're here for the stories. Please, but I want to know also, like, have you ever been catfished, and have you ever catfished anyone?
I've never catfished anyone, and I thought I was being catfished by someone, but it was weird because it wasn't even necessarily like for a dating thing. It was actually working on music, and it was weird. Like, we had been talking online for like a good couple years and didn't see him really until I went to London and saw him for the first time in person in London, going to stay at his house with his family. But that's how cool he'd become. But I didn't know what he looked like, and I was like, whatever. And he happened to be like one of the most gorgeous people I've ever seen in my life. Straight though. So like, it was just funny because he turned the corner, and I was like, oh, are you kidding me? Like, you're not gonna look like this, and then
be straight.
Yeah, good friend of mine. But that's my quick story. But back to you, because I need to know.
Yeah. So I'll start off with how I got catfished. So I got catfished. I met someone online. I really liked them. Our conversations were like really fun and like, you know, when you're 14, the definition of like deep is, you know, open to interpretation. But, you know, I felt like we shared some real moments and everything. And I thought I was talking to someone my own age. Because at the time I actually didn't lie about my age this time. Okay. So I was honest and I thought I'd met someone who was my age. And then I ended up finding out like a month after we were speaking that this was like a grown man who was like in his 50s. And yeah, it was really crazy. He decided to come forward. I had already noticed that some things were kind of off because I would ask him about things that kids my age were into, and he never really could relate. And like, yeah, so signs were there. Wow. So I started kind of dropping hints because I was like pretty smart for my age. So I was just like, you know, I'll accept you no matter what, blah, blah. Kind of coerced him into like telling on himself. Yeah. And then he did. And then I blocked him. Yeah, I just kind of like said goodbye. Only really because I had already was talking to someone who was much older than me on purpose. Okay. And my parents caught me, so I was just like, I can't do this again. Like, I'm gonna lose the internet period.
Right,
like, yeah,
right. They're gonna pull that plug out the wall. How long were you talking to the person who catfished you?
I was talking to him for like a month. We were talking online for a month. We never like had any video chats or anything like that. We just like would like message each other, email each other.
Did we have it then?
What?
Did we have the video? Oh, we did. Video cam.
Yeah, there were some.
There were some webcams that you could buy.
The separate webcams that you could buy, which my parents bought for us to keep in touch with family. And I was using to talk to not on the internet. Yeah, exactly. Wrong relative.
Number
sorry,
two.
Daddy. Sorry. Yeah, so there was that. Years later down the road, when I was like 16, I started realizing certain things about my sexuality. And I tried to explore my sexuality, but in a deceitful way, because I wasn't ready to come out to anybody about it. And at the time I was living with my aunt and my uncle, and they were pastors. So I was under very tight watch. I was like, our internet usage was monitored heavily. Like, yeah. So it was an intense summer for me. But my cousin brought a friend home one time, and I just thought she was like the most beautiful girl ever. And she was like this alternative, like punk rock chick, and like she was really cool. She was so easy to talk to, but she was like 2 years older than me, so she was already out of my league on age premise alone. So I went online and I made up a page. I found this like really cute boy on Google. I took his photos and like I put them online, and I reached out to her. And I was having these conversations with her, getting to know her. Meanwhile, she's having conversations with me and really like liking my personality and everything. And like, and then what happened was that she told my cousin that she met a boy and online. And so her and my cousin started talking about it, and they, you know, as young girls, they're like, we're going to investigate. Right. So they went online and they found my AIM my aim on them.
Make another one.
I was 16. I was 16 and lying.
Ooh, me and the girls, we had a whole separate aim that we all would log into. I'm trying to remember what it was called, but we would use it to like not catfish, but like like say shit to like other people.
Right.
Yeah. So I got caught. And denied everything. I denied it all because I was just like, no, I'm not gay. Like, I'm not, And and I felt really bad because the girl was devastated. She was really fucking hurt about it. And I was just like, like a 16-year-old kid who's like realizing that I like women, and also I'm living under my uncle's house who's a pastor, and I'm not supposed to.
Right.
My family, they're super religious, so that was like not something I could discuss with anybody else, So I felt like I had to hide it, and I felt like I had to explore that in secrecy. Crystal, if you're watching this, I'm so sorry. I really am sorry. Yeah, I was really sorry. I felt really bad about it, and she wasn't allowed at the house after that.
Dang.
They're like, Mel's got some things going on. I don't think you should come over for now. Like, Yeah, so it was a pretty it was a pretty sad ending to it, but I did realize in that moment that I realized something about my sexuality.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then I learned that it was really, really bad to use deception as a means to explore that, So yeah.
Wow. You know what's interesting about catfish? I'm sorry, I didn't.
No, go ahead.
But what's interesting about catfish is that, in a way, it kind of proves like emotional relationships. Like, it really gives weight to like emotional connection, that like it doesn't matter the person that is behind the emotion, like who you're actually connecting with, because in this instance, I mean, she was like really into this guy that it was you know what I mean, like, and I know it's like it's messed up because it does mess with people's like minds with the visuals.
So it's horribly wrong, it's unethical.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's just an interesting case study. But you also
at the time, give yourself some grace, because you were a child.
I was definitely young, and not having any mentors or anyone to speak to about the things that I was realizing about myself. And I also moved into a very tightly monitored house from a household where there was none of that. So I was used to not having supervision. I was used to I was coming from a house where I was talking about a 25-year-old guy. I was 14.
Right.
Okay? I was 14. So coming into this space,
I'm not alone.
Yeah.
Some of that going on.
I learned a lot. That was probably one of the times in my life where I was held accountable for something with real consequence too. So growing pains, lessons.
Yeah. I'm glad you said that. You're right. Like, you were 16. You do have to give yourself some grace. You didn't know better.
Yeah, and make that clear to anybody who's watching. We're just sharing.
I was a child. I was a minor.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also, as queer people, it's so interesting. Everyone's journey, to self-discovery is not always straight and narrow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
And it's not always the prettiest thing or something, and it happens sometimes in the most unusual way, because in our generation we may or may not have had adults, like you said, to really sit with us and hold that space to talk about what you were going through, and the feelings that you were having, and you could run to someone and say, hey, I like girls, so it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Queer people don't know how to date. We were never taught fundamentally how to
and
date.
I don't. Do we still do?
I think we're starting to learn now, because our generation is starting to if you notice, you'll find a lot more people in their 30s and 40s who have been in longer relationships and actually having real substantial okay, we're dating, we're not meeting and jumping into bed. There's something wrong with that, but you know what I mean. It's just this real courting. That's the word. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Courting. We don't. Queer people don't know how to court, especially not queer teenagers. We just didn't have that.
I'm so glad that you're talking about this because when we have conversations about visibility and, there's like these myths going around about the gay agenda and all this. And, we're starting to see more queer and trans people in the media and in film. And this is the reason why. Because we did not have examples or reflections of how to date or how to chase our dreams necessarily, or all of these things, that you would think, okay, yeah, you can borrow and share from other human experiences, of course, and we're grateful for that, but it's different when you're able to see someone who looks and lives just like you.
Yeah.
So
for
absolutely.
sure.
Absolutely.
That's so important that, like, so insightful that you guys are talking about that and can speak about it that way. And I do agree with you. I really do feel like as a community, we're starting to figure out things now through self-exploration, because I feel like even when I was navigating the world as a cis person, I started to notice a decline in like committed relationships and like romance in a general sense, and watching romantic gestures completely dwindle after, like, I'm gonna say the 90s and early 2000s. Like, there was just such a huge plummet where, Tinder was born. Tinder was born, and other dating sites, other fast food dating sites.
Yes.
Where everything was to go.
Yeah.
And like so easy to have options on the menu.
Right.
So I think now as a community, especially queer folks, like now we're starting to navigate like how to build the foundations of meaningful connections. And even if we are like engaging in like casual interactions, how to still do that with mindfulness and respect.
That's a we're gonna pause right there because we're gonna come back to that.
Actually,
Actually, that's like
break,
a perk moment.
But that's
a break.
Nice.
Yeah, we'll be right back. The Oracle Shop is a metaphysical boutique located in the heart of Bushwick, Brooklyn. This shop features beautiful and energizing products for the home, body, and soul, including crystals and minerals, as well as ceremonial and spiritual cleansing supplies, jewelry, oracle cards, tarot cards, books, candles, and more. Come visit us at the Oracle Shop, located at 164 Wilson, Brooklyn, New York, 11237. And we are back. And we're going to continue where we left off because it was getting good. So we were talking about relationships and dating and stuff like that. And I actually have a question for both of y'all. Can you remember your first like substantial relationship that like was meaningful from an app or a website? The way both of y'all heads just went. or okay, better question. Have you had one that has been substantial from an app or a website?
Okay. Actually, I did meet my ex on Instagram. Okay. Yeah, so not really a dating website, but really in the 21st century, everything's a dating website. So true. Yeah. It's all just like, tools for whatever, for connecting with people, know, and yeah, so I found my ex's page through like, I am going to admit something. I check who views my stories. Okay, I'm one of those, and I'm one of many. I'm sure.
So everyone doesn't do that?
Everyone doesn't, apparently. I've spoken to other people who were just like, "Oh, you do that," and I'm just like,
I've spoken to some people who told me they stopped doing it, but I thought like naturally you just look.
Yeah. I always look. Not every single day, but every single day.
Me too.
I look.
Yeah,
I just look.
multiple times.
Yeah, so I saw somebody give my story.
I am not ashamed to say that. Like, I need to know who's watching.
No, because I find it so interesting the people who choose to lurk but don't engage, or who.
So do I.
Yes, I find that. So if you're watching and you know you're not supposed to, I know you're watching. Yeah. But so yeah, I noticed a new profile had viewed one of my stories after a show that I did because I'm also an artist and I had performed like the night before.
Word. So
I went to their page and immediately I was just like, I want to go on a date with this person. Like, so yeah, I did what any mature person would do. I liked 10 photos in a row and said nothing.
I love you.
And this became a conversation. They hit me up, which is exactly what I wanted them to do. Right. Yeah, and then we had a year-long relationship after that. So yeah, that was probably the only time something fruitful came out of reaching out from online. It was looking bleak online. What about you, Sage?
I've had some pretty interesting situationships that have come from dating apps. I've met some really, really cool people. Some people who've like literally changed my life. Nothing necessarily long term, or at least long term in the way that I would want it to be.
Yeah.
But the diary is full. If I sat here and told you all about my dating experience from apps alone, because that's where most of it has come from, I think we'd run over time. So.
As Sage's romantic hardware device, I can concur.
Yes,
I can concur.
Yes, indeed. So, I mean, needless to say, I do think, like you were saying, that it's getting better. I do think that online dating, probably for everyone, not just queer people, I would hope straight people as well, is improving, because I think as human beings, we're slowly starting to learn and do better. And because of social media now, there's, especially on Instagram, you know, we have all these like self-help reposts and shares and things like that. So I think people are now at least starting to question their actions and the things that they do. And it's so funny because Ariel girl, we can spill a little bit. There was a person that I met during quarantine who we never actually met, but reconnected like a couple of months ago. And I found it very interesting because we matched on Hinge, actually. And then somehow decided that we were going to be, you know, follow each other on Instagram. And so I would see this person like repost all these things about like healthy relationships and blah, 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 blah. And I was making myself like, you know, kind of like available to me. And we've never got around to doing it. But when I would have conversations with this person, I was just like, this is so opposite from what you present on your page. Like, it's so opposite.
Energetic catfish.
Right. Oh, that is perfect. Yeah.
Energetic catfish. And it's just like, so on one hand, it is good that we have all of these pages that host this information, but it's one thing to intellectualize it and then actually apply it to, and I'm not saying that I'm a person who necessarily does. It was just an observation that I literally felt like I was attracted to the person who was posting on Instagram, but then when I would talk to them in real time, I'd be like, but this is not it. Like, this is not it.
That's the interesting.
That's a real thing.
Like,
I think, like this really goes back to what we were talking about before, about how people have personas, and that it's just an inevitable part of online presence. You know what I mean? I appreciate that there people who are very transparent and authentic online, but most people have personas online, and that's exactly what you were talking about. So I completely understand, that observation being noticeable for you, like a striking, definitive difference for you, because I feel like people do still use the internet to portray a persona.
Absolutely. I mean, people are like, that's your persona is your moneymaker now.
That's how they want to be seen.
You know what I mean?
That's how they want to be seen. They want to be seen as somebody who has these certain type of values.
And in some cases, people are being paid for that persona.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the moment they shift from that, the bag is snatched off the table. It's like, oh, like, who are you now? But this is who everyone knew you as, and who they fell in love with. So yeah, the tea would take so much longer to spill. But did we say we were gonna take another break?
We didn't, but we can.
Okay.
We could totally take another break. We probably should take another break.
We probably should take
another break. I'm with that. We'll be right back. Islaya, it's in the name. The new single by Islaya, available now for download on Spotify. And we're back. We are having some technical difficulties, but as Sage beautifully said, here at Unbinding the Binary, we like to keep it transparent and real. And so we're going to pick up where we left off. And we were talking about dating, emotional catfishing,
online personas.
Yes. And in the world of like first encounters, like, actually, I feel like in some ways, honestly, I mean, maybe it's just me, but we all put on personas at some point in our like social media dating journey.
Yeah.
Like,
of course,
right?
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely did. Like, I kind of had, well, not had to, but I definitely felt like I had to present like a certain masculine persona in order to date someone. Because, the femmes were not being overlooked, disregarded. So I definitely thought at one point I had to like pretend to be like this dude, which I could never keep up the appeal, even if I tried. So like, what was the point? And then you just get to that point where you're just like, fuck this. Like, this is me. This is what you're going to get, like it, love it, or not. And then that's kind of like where I'm at now, where, I mean, I don't have to be on the apps, per se.
Oh, excuse me.
The odds have been in your favor.
They have been in my favor.
The odds have been in your favor.
But I mean, I think, I don't know. That's probably something, too, that we're navigating. Like, I thought that's where we were actually. Oh, my God, that's exactly where we were, because you were talking about navigating now as people and how we're just now learning, like, how to, like, work with all that other kind of stuff where we can be real with ourselves and with other people online. We don't have to lie anymore,
Yeah, for sure. I think that everyone does have, to some extent, a persona, that they put forward. As people, when you mature, you realize that not everybody deserves access to, the most vulnerable parts of you. So I completely understand the functional aspect of like having a persona, but I also think like as a community, we're starting to realize that, we don't need to embellish beyond ethics, and I feel like more people are caring about their mental health. More people are caring about their self-worth. More people are caring about, their own self-perception and caring less about how others perceive them.
Right.
Yeah, so I think with that being on the table, and I can only speak for myself, but I know that there are other people around me that are like-minded folks that also want to navigate things this way. Like, now when I go online, I want to use that tool not just to portray a persona, but I want to share, you know, what I'm comfortable with sharing. I want to share authentic parts of me that I'm comfortable sharing online. Because there are a lot of rewards, you know, to having confidence that you are enough and that you are wonderful and that someone, you know, the right people are going to perceive that and receive that, you know, and you won't have to put on this like barrier, you know, in order to kind of like allure people with mystery and stuff like that, you know. Some mystery's cool, you know, but also intimacy is cool. So yeah,
it's interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, like, it's interesting because I will admit I can be an oversharer sometimes, and what I find is that like being so vulnerable, I guess, online, at going through the whole journey of like I don't need a persona. Let me just be me 100%, and in doing that, oversharing, thinking that I'm inviting more authenticity into my life by like, let me put it all out on the table right here online so that I can get exactly what I need, as opposed to like having to get someone and then learn, you know, navigate through all of that. So I guess, I mean, like, how would you, or how, I guess I'm trying to say.
how do you discern?
Yeah, like how do you discern like when to stop, what's too much, so that you can still get the authentic people and authentic connections while still having like a mystery at the same time?
Yeah, that's a great question. Sage, you want to chime in?
I don't know if I'm the best person to ask always, because I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, I'm like, you know, I think it also depends on your personality, like your general honest personality. And me, being the Scorpio that I am, I naturally tend to be a little bit more private, you know? And when I tend to share things online, I like to share them usually as like a reflection, you know? Because I know, like, I've had a lot of people, like, in the past who said, oh my God, like, I always love your posts because they're always so uplifting and they're always this and they're always that. And then, you know, you'll see the combative to that that'll say, oh, you know, some people, like, you know, who only post, like, when they're happy and when they're this, like, it's phony and it's this and it's that. But I don't know, for me, it isn't. It's just, it's almost similar to how I navigate in the real world. Like, it's like the people who really, really know me and that are really, really close to me, they know the real shit that I'm going through. Not saying that what I post on Instagram isn't. Because if you're really looking and watching and paying attention, you know, there's some real shit that's going on. There's some sadness, there's some darkness there too. So I think it depends on your general personality, how you choose to then show up online. And I know, Mel, if you don't mind, we were talking about, I think you were teaching me about the midhaven one time, and if we take it a little astrological, because I have, my midhaven is in Libra. Is yours there too?
Yes.
Yeah.
We have so many similar
we have
places.
so many similar things. And so,
Well, wait, before you explain midhaven.
can you?
Yeah, so your midhaven can tell you a lot about how you're going to connect the most with your human experience here. Like, it has a lot to do with, you know, what careers will probably be the best fit for you, how you're going to find the most fulfillment, how you're going to fulfill and activate your highest purpose, and the service that you do on the planet.
Right.
Yeah.
And is a midhaven like one of the houses, or is that something completely different?
Midhaven is your midhaven is I'm honestly not even sure. I don't think it's a planet. I think it's more of a transit. It's like, so like our midhavens are in Libra, so the time of your birth, a certain zodiac sign will be in transit. It will be in transit to like the midhaven placement. Which could be a star. Honestly, don't quote me on it.
Is the midhaven the 10th house?
Yes.
Is it
it's
technically the 10th house?
Okay.
It's the 10th house. So yeah, so it'll just be in transition in whatever zodiac sign. And then that tells you a lot about, you know, how you're going to find the most fulfillment and service to the planet on this earth. So,
and then I think in present day, a lot of astrologers are finding that area of your chart represents how you show up online as well.
Also,
and so
yes,
and so it's so funny that we're all having this conversation because we were talking about that.
Yeah,
like we were like literally finding the similarities within ourselves and how, you know, I mean, I'm always so inspired by your posts, even though
thanks.
You know, whether they're only, you know, a certain amount of people can see in your close friends.
Say just spilling tea right now.
I feel blessed. I'm so blessed. Let me tell y'all not on the list. I'm sorry. Like, I'm just saying.
Only a select few. I rarely post on my regular stories for everyone to see, but anyone on my close friend story knows that all of the tea is on my close friend story.
But yeah, and I would have to like have a refresher about the midhaven in Libra, but when I did look at some of the aspects pertaining to how we show up online, I was like even down to like how we take selfies and like, because I was just wondering, I'm like, dang, like how come I never take any full body pics? You know, I don't want nobody to think I'm catfishing them or something, you know?
Right.
But then that was one of the trainings.
Yep.
Was that like we take like these like very like specific portrait kind of selfies because the Libra is all about that. Yeah, so
that's so interesting.
I said all of that to say and brought it to that astrological place to say that everybody has a different style of showing up online. But when it comes to dating, like I said, if you're getting to know someone, especially before you meet them, and then you're having conversations with them, it's interesting how you can see either the similarities or a stark difference.
Yeah.
And I felt like, you know, again, not judging this person, I'm pretty sure he's like a really cool guy, but I just would notice that there was like a little bit of a stark difference, you know?
Wow, you like blowing my mind now. Like that's we gonna have people ask. That's gonna be the new dating question. Like forget like what's your birth sign? Like what's your midhaven?
What's your midhaven? And it's interesting because I think, you know, if you so that's Instagram, right? Or maybe even a TikTok. But like let's say if someone was very active on Pinterest and you saw their Pinterest, you know, maybe the Pinterest would be full of things that you would go like, yeah, like you definitely love this kind of thing, like you love this kind of decor or this style of clothing. But now Instagram has become this like big web of information. Everyone is like a self-help guru. Everyone is this and that, and it's okay. We can repost like all of these ideas, but do we really resonate? How do they really resonate with us? You know. Especially when it comes to bonding or building relationships and stuff like that.
Yeah.
We're still learning how to do that again.
Yeah.
Like that's still very much like that.
So I guess it just reiterates that that's where we are as a collective, that we're really as a collective starting to dig deeper, as you said, and doing that inner self work. I mean, look at quarantine and COVID. You know, what happened with that. And how that has even changed the dating world, even online. Because lately, I'd say I've matched with a few people after, like, you know, during this time period, and I will say that there's some healthier things that are occurring that maybe we can talk about in the future. We don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
But
your cheeks just got red.
Oh gosh. But the world is transforming, you guys. I think that you know, one step at a time, of course. But who knows? Maybe we'll quantum.
Right. I feel like our generation is like, visually, if you can see it, our generation is the eye of the storm. I feel like this storm moves, and for some reason we just transition with it in so much more of a like understanding and flow of like consciousness, like, oh, okay, this is what we're doing now, great, let's do this. And like we're just like moving along, just even with like technology and just everything. And it's kind of interesting to see or to have conversations with people around me, and I'm like, what planet are y'all on? Like, it is not that difficult to like center ourselves. And then I talk to people who are in our generation and we're all on the same wavelength, and I'm like, okay, I think I'm understanding what's happening right now. Like, we are a generation of transformation, and we are the ones that are riding it out for everybody else. I feel like. Not to like be, egotistical or pat us on our back, but
very on
I mean?
brand. Even like if you were born between I'm gonna say the mid 1980s and like the mid 1990s, like your Pluto should be in Scorpio, which is the house of transformation. So that is very on brand, especially for millennials. Like we're very much the belly in which transformation is like happening.
Dang.
So yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah,
wow.
we hold it. We hold it all, and we let it take shape. We let it take form. Yeah, a lot of digesting happening in our generation. A lot of that happening in our generation. Yeah, I think it definitely plays a major role in how like we're navigating first encounters and dating.
So would you say we are breaking some collective curses?
Absolutely. I think the generation of like millennials and even Gen Z, like I think the theme is teeth, big teeth, because there were a lot of like there were a lot of ideals and legacies that we were handed that were not sustainable. And our elders didn't support us creating a new path for ourselves. They were very threatened about what would happen to the time invested into the legacies they gave us if we decided to start fresh and create our own legacies. And because of that, we've had to learn how to show teeth. We've had to speak up for ourselves. We've had to advocate for ourselves. We've had to do a lot of things alone. We had to do a lot of things alone.
That's real.
That's real.
That is very real.
It's true.
So real.
It goes back to what we were talking about earlier, and in your story of moving from, maybe more of a freedom home, if you will, to a restrictive environment. It's like we've all, in our generation, probably had some form of that where we either purposely, isolated ourselves, or life just did that for you. And we're even seeing it again. We saw it again with, I'm saying the word quarantine.
Quarantine pushed everybody into a deep period of self-reflection.
Yeah.
Well, we hope.
It did. I mean, whether or not you show up for what information was found in that time is entirely up to you, but you're going to be held accountable for how you choose to use that information, whether you decide to step in that or not. So
you gotta preach.
There was also like a super spike. Cheers
for that.
There was like a super spike in like self-realization and like gender identity, sexuality, for like so many people. Like going into quarantine, I knew already that I for a long time had felt very disconnected to my body, very just very like in a constant process of becoming, like I felt like there was definitely something deeper going on in terms of my identity, but because there was so much distraction and I was getting, I was so assimilated into navigating the world as a cis woman, I didn't take the time to really listen to the part of me that was asking to emerge fully. Like, no more excuses, no more 1 foot in, 1 foot out, no more, hiding no more hiding. Yeah, no more holding back. You know, like, and so in that period of deep reflection, I do believe, myself included, so many people, we were forced to confront parts of ourselves that we were silencing and suppressing for a really long time, and we were put on timeout, you know, and we had technology to keep in contact and to connect, but the real engagement was happening in self. You know.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. No. Yes.
Yeah.
This is one of the many reasons why I love you.
I love you so much.
Because you just took it to like a whole nother level. It's true. A lot of us really took that time to water ourselves.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
What do you think, or have you already experienced dating after that initial, you know what I'm saying, like internal, like, and what has that been like?
That has been so eye-opening.
Yeah.
So eye-opening for me. Yeah. I just for the first time in my life, I'm starting to acknowledge what I like. Yeah, I don't think I really ever considered that while dating other people. I very much cared about being who the other person liked, you know. Wow. And like thinking that was the reward, that they liked me, you know, but I wasn't being true to myself. So I think now when I navigate dating, I'm very mindful of, like, you know, am I being true to myself? Am I nurturing my self-confidence and my self-esteem so that I can show up authentically? And I also think, like, you know, part of like navigating the dating world now is you have to take things with a grain of salt. You know, like, I used to take everything so personally, you know. I was like, and there's nothing wrong with being sensitive and vulnerable, you know, but you also have to stay grounded and solid for your own sake,
right?
You know. So I think now when I navigate dating, I have such a healthy relationship with rejection, and I have such a healthy relationship with, you know, amicably deciding that, like, actually this isn't what we like, you know. Yeah, and also now that I've come into myself a lot more, I'm not engaging in people-pleasing behavior, you know, so I can be honest about what I do and what I don't like, what I'm open to, what my boundaries are, exactly what I'm, you know, what I'm hoping to find, you know. So I just feel like it's definitely come with challenges, because I feel very uncomfortable with being dishonest about those things now. So now I have to hold myself accountable to being very transparent about certain things right when they come up between me and somebody else that I'm dating, whether it's the first date, the third date, you know, or in a relationship. Yeah, holding other people accountable, you also have to hold yourself accountable, you know, to your boundaries and you know, to the lessons that you've learned in life, so you don't repeat them, you know. What about you guys? Like, how, since COVID has changed, what are some things you feel also changed in you when it comes to navigating the dating world or your partnerships? Parched.
I mean, honestly, like, my relationship, so I'm in a polyamorous relationship. I'm in a triad, and that developed over COVID, very unexpectedly. Like, I mean, it was kind of going that way, but surprisingly, I wasn't the one who said anything. Like, usually I'm the first one to be like, I have these feelings, but I didn't say a word. I was just like, my friends knew, but then I would like be, you know, with my partners and just act like, oh, you know. But it was of the three of us, it was the one who said something was the one I least expected to say anything. He was the first one to be like, I think we're a throuple, but we're not. And I was like, wait, what? You know? But that relationship definitely grew in COVID. and I think COVID like slowed me down. And it's funny because you're talking about like that internal, like when people talk about like COVID and like, oh, you know, I was working on this project and I came out of COVID with all these projects, and I always tell people like, my COVID project was me. Like,
thank you. Wow. Yes.
Like, I was sitting in my room, like going through it, and I remember the day when it like hit me where I was like, we need to heal some shit. Like, so we're gonna sit here and we're gonna like do this work, and like I probably, to be honest, I probably had smoked something, child, but I remember but I was like talking to myself in the mirror like, okay, we need to like deal with this, we need to deal with that, you know what I mean? And but in the process of that, I mean, I was blessed to have partners that kind of supported that journey, and I'm a very transparent person, so I was explaining that to them also, and then to have that sort of like safety zone of like comfort. And as I'm going through all this really dark shit, and then I'm able to, it's like making me emotional, going through all this really dark shit, and then being able to come to that space and be like kind of cradled through it, but also still giving me the strength to like fight that battle myself, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Wow. Thank you for sharing
that really that's what helped develop that relationship. And then, you know, I mean, it's still growing and we're still learning, and it really just slowed me down. And the one thing that they both have said multiple times is like, you know, we're still learning, we're still growing, and the relationship's going to evolve as we go, and we're like there's no rush, there's no pressure, which is something else that I learned too, because I was very quick to jump in relationships and be like, yes, like we going full throttle. But this forced me to slow down and let it grow. And those moments of like, especially when you're dealing with two people who are married and like inviting me into this union, and then having to be patient with that, you know what I mean? Where I'm like, when I'm not with them, what does that leave for me? Like, you know, I'm sitting at home, I can't be there 24/7. How do I be patient with myself and learn how to like let this love be, and know that this love is not going anywhere just because I'm not there? You know what I mean? Like it was a whole process, and it really just changed like my entire thoughts about relationships, what's possible. I've said it before that like my partners loved me into healing, you know what I mean? And like just trying to be present in it, you know what I'm saying? Because like again, it's still evolving and growing, but to like center myself in this like very interesting and different relationship and let it grow, and not put expectations on it, or like, you know, I have a very vivid imagination, so like my mind is already like 15 years from now we'll be in London. You know what I mean? But to be like grounded in it, you know what I'm saying, for what it is, and be like, this is an everyday thing. So yeah, it's very interesting, but you know, that's how it happened. Here we are.
Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah.
And congratulations.
Yes,
thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. We're still learning. I told my mom, which is a shock. Interestingly enough, though, they met both my parents when we were just like, we had just met essentially. Maybe had known each other for like a month. And they came to my play, and my parents that came to that same play. And I definitely introduced them to my parents as my babies. Like, these are my babies.
Spirit was planting the seeds.
And we actually talked about that like a couple weeks ago, because we're approaching, we have made it to like a year of us actually being like a throuple, but we've, you know, been involved for like 2 years or so. And we were talking about that, like, oh, like, you legit told your parents. I'm like, yeah, like y'all definitely met my parents. I don't think my parents have met any of my like actual partners. Like,
wow,
it's kind of bizarre, but anyway.
I just like literally just realized I don't introduce my partners to my parents.
Oh yeah, same.
Yeah, that's.
I was like, wait.
Oh, that's so funny.
Part of our growth in relationship and queer dating. It's part of our growth.
I wonder how many other people also don't, like in the queer community, also don't introduce their partners to their parents. Yeah, I'm just like so curious. I wonder if that, I mean, surely a lot of people have to like, you know, preserve their relationships, you know, from parentals, because not all of our parents approve of our lifestyles and of our identities, you know. But yeah, I just thought that was so interesting. I literally just realized when you said that. I'm
it's
like,
a big step.
Yeah.
For me, it's not because I've never wanted, like, wouldn't or want to. It's just I hadn't had that person who I felt like, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, you're ready to meet my parents, kind of a thing.
Yeah, I think that's part of it for me too. I think that like I kind of have this idea, or I don't want to say rule, but yeah, I just feel like if it doesn't pass a year, I don't know. Yeah. I had a relationship that was 4 years long, and like that partner of mine met my mom like on the 3rd year of our relationship. So I think I'm just very slow to that also. Like I don't like exposing my family, you know, to relationships that I'm not 100% sure are as stable as they should be before I introduce you to my family dynamic. So
I feel like that's a queer thing.
It has to be, right?
Because straight people don't, like, they'll introduce their, like, people with the quickness, I feel like.
I've seen all my straight friends doing that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah,
that's that's the whole episode on this. Like,
Okay.
we have to,
It is.
we have to circle back to that because
Okay.
that's a
Okay.
whole thing. Because,
Yeah.
like, yeah, we'll have to come back to that, yeah. Man, there's so much more to talk about, and like we're running out of time for today. But Mel, you have to come back and
I would
come.
love to.
Like
Yes.
you have to. We have to have you come back.
Finish what we started.
For the dating diary.
The day,
Yes, I would
you
love
gotta
to.
come back, and we can just like continue to go in. Again, I hate to end because like I just want to keep going.
It was such
but
a good episode.
I know, right? We have to. So, thank you so much.
Yes.
Like really,
Thank you, boo.
Thank you,
It's been such a
guys.
pleasure. Like,
Thank
please
you.
come back.
I would love to come
back with the
back.
month.
I hope everybody watching has their teacups ready because
Yeah.
this episode was definitely tea.
Okay. And on that note,
Oh, where can everyone find you, my love?
yes.
Well, you guys can find me on Instagram, Mel on Earth. That's 2 M's and 2 L's. I don't have a TikTok yet. I'm a millennial. You can also find my music on all streaming platforms. You just have to search Mel with 2 M's and 2 L's and look for the album Heartships. Heartships. Yeah, I've got some good stuff on there too.
Absolutely.
Ooh,
For sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, we have to see. We got to bring Mel back, and we got to talk about the album. I'm like, no, this could be a recurring guest for a while.
I'm so excited.
So much to talk about. Well, thank you all for tuning in to this episode, our first dating diaries, many more to come. And also you can, if you go to our website, www.unbinding.the.binary.com, all the links available to us are there. So you can find our Spotify, which you can now watch our podcast on Spotify.
So amazing.
Yeah, it's very exciting. You can go to Spotify, type in Unbinding the Binary. We are right there. And you can watch it. But also, we're on Apple Podcasts. You can find our Instagram, our TikTok, everything. Email us, all of that. If you just go to our website at www.unbinding.the.binary.com. We have simplified. All right. Well, again, thank you, Mel, so much for coming. It's been like the best.
I had so much fun.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's all.
Until next time.
Please support our guest via Venmo at Mel on Earth.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram at unbinding.the.binary. Email us at unbinding.the.binary.podcast@gmail.com.